Can you imagine a world in 2025 where you can say this about like Jewish people and not be thrown in jail? Communist Bolshevik town. At least these dumb didn't realize that the meta is saying Islamo-communism. They haven't done that, like, because that's the meta in that is the meta in Islamo-leftism is the meta in European countries. Full MAGA Adams is fun to imagine. Picture him getting really obsessed with revoking the New York Times Russiagate Pulitzer or getting the truth about Biden's auto pen. New prominent donors are gunning to get Republican mayoral nominee Curtis Lewa a job in the Trump administration in hopes of pushing him out of the New York mayoral race. Sources told me the aim is to open up the GOP nomination, and nearly 30% of the vote that someone running in that lane is expected to get for current mayor Eric Adams. I don't know what that swap would look like, by the way, because if he runs straight Republican ticket to get the Republican auto votes, okay, then I think he loses a big chunk of the black voter base that he had, which, by the way, that number is also diminished no matter what people try to tell me. He's going to lose the perma-Democrat voters that would have voted for him. But then again, I also don't know if you can even run on the Republican ticket. That's not as big as it. That's one concern. But you also have, obviously, the insane that we're hearing. Like Republicans trying to use the Communism Act of like 1957 or whatever to try and deport Mamdani, and then now another Republican wants to denaturalize Zohran Mamdani.
For 50 years and only recently moved to Connecticut and New York City for 17. I can't believe they've done this. How did we go from Giuliani, Bloomberg, crossover de Blasio and Adams to a socialist who now is very likely to win because anybody who gets the Democratic nomination wins. Now, it's true, some people will organize against him. Some New York business leaders are very scared. Some Jews in New York are very scared that this guy who defended globalized the Intifada recently on a podcast at the Dispatch is their next likely mayor. So they could potentially organize now in a way they didn't before the primary to stop him. But if you had to put money on it, you'd have to put it on this guy becoming the next mayor. What does this say about New York and our country?
Well, a lot. And I'm going to push the envelope a little bit, Megan. So you have to give me, and you can push back at any time. So I think it's very
you're in trouble.
talk.
I saw you're in trouble with Jessica Tarlov of Fox News on the internet.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say it here on air because I just I don't hide from my opinions. But yes, and you can push back and disagree, and I'll give all the proper caveats, which of course I believe in. But yes, the socialism part is very important. I mean, he has like some of the dumbest ideas imaginable, which we're going to have city-run grocery stores. Yeah, that works really well in Cuba. Bring back bread lines, right? Mamdani 2025. And obviously he wants to tax the rich. He wants to take more money away from people. All that's super bad. He wants to defund the police. He's on the record saying defund the police. He wants to send social workers instead of cops. But like, we need to also understand, and we have to be very delicate how we talk about this, and I'll give all the proper caveats, right? Not every Muslim is bad. A lot of Muslims are really decent and good people. My primary care doctor is actually Muslim. I've endorsed someone running for office as a Muslim, Zuhdi Jasser here in Arizona. So we all know individually good Muslims. But we also must kind of take pause and say, wait a second. The two financial power centers of the West are obviously London and New York. And are we really going to have two Muslim mayors of the major financial power centers of the West? Like, let's just take a pause and take a step back and like, what does that say and what does that mean? And people say, well, it's irrelevant that he's Muslim. Well, you said it best. He wants to globalize the Intifada. And by the way, that just means globalized terrorism. He is the first mayoral candidate of any significance to say that he supports sanctions of Israel. I want you to understand that. That is America's most Jewish city, New York, and he wants to sanction Israel. And we're not allowed to mention that he's also Muslim. Like, I'm sorry, like that actually matters a lot. And he should be put on the record and ask questions about not just his faith, but also, do you think that it's good that we're continually importing hundreds of thousands of people that don't import our values? And you look at Ilhan Omar. Is Ilhan Omar a good example of someone that has pride and patriotism and gratitude for our country? It's not a good track record so far. And from Mamdani, you're seeing someone that has resentment-driven politics, super bad economics, terrible economics. But dare I also say, a radical cultural orthodoxy that is going to be introduced into America's largest city. One that will not make it a safe place for Jews, not a safe place increasingly, I think, for Western values and potentially Christians. And to say that you are in favor of boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning Israel in America's most Jewish city, and it's just a coincidence that that guy happens to be Muslim, yeah, I think that's complete rubbish. And final point I'll say is this, is that London is a captured city.
Bro, this is literally, I mean, I'm sorry for leaving you guys alone with David Duke, okay? Of course, David Duke has this level of animosity towards both Muslims and Jews alike, but what a sociopath this man is. It's an interesting time because there are a lot of progressive people who would recognize this kind of sentiment immediately as like the exact same kind of that people said about Jews and still do say about Jews. But since this is all, this conversation is being had around Israel, I wonder if the same people that would, under normal circumstances, say like, this is completely unacceptable. This is like an incredibly racist, nonsensical position to maintain, if they will actually speak out against this. So far, not so good. So far, I haven't heard much.
I don't know if you've been there recently, Megan, but
awful.
It is a husk of its former self. It is terrible. And I don't like the fact that I go to Piccadilly Square and I see more Arabic than I see English, that I see more stores that are Yemen, Omani, Saudi Arabian. That is a conquered and a captured country. And Mamdani has to run on his own merits. He's his own individual person. But he has not given any indication that he is anything but a radical socialist and someone that is trying to continue the Mohammedan march in the West. Individual Muslims can be great members of American society. We all know them. But in the macro, in the big picture.
Bro, it is what, like, this is worse than post 9/11 racism. Adolf Hitler, dude. It's crazy. Can you imagine a world in 2025 where you can say this about like Jewish people and not be thrown in jail? I feel like if that was the case, then there would be a lot more concern for people being like anti-Semitism, and not just like criticism of Israel is exploding everywhere. I think people say worse things about Jewish people. Brother, what? What he's saying is quite literally what people said about Jewish people before the Holocaust. What's ridiculous here is that my point is, you can say this and be Trump's best friend. You can't say this about Jewish people and be Trump's best friend. As a matter of fact, there is a guy who used to say this and still says this about Jewish people. His name is Nick Fuentes. And immediately after Trump went and had dinner with him, which was insane in of itself, very quickly, Trump was like, I don't know who this guy is. We're not associated at all. Whereas Charlie Kirk can still go into the White House anytime he wants. That's the difference.
Picture. Are we really benefiting the more that we are importing Islamists into the West? I say no, and I think we should have a lot of caution making a Muslim socialist the mayor of America's largest city. And I know I'm in trouble for saying that, but I'll double down on it because I think that comes with a lot of baggage and a lot of trouble.
The response to not your argument, but your feelings have been espoused by others, including Benny Johnson, who said he tweeted, New York City in 2001 will never forget after the World Trade Center. New York City in 2025 elects Muslim jihadist. That's not what you called him. You did not call him this guy a jihadist.
No, I did not, for the record, I never said that.
You did not say that.
And I like Benny a lot, but I did not say that.
Yeah, but here's how Ryan James Gradowski responded to Benny. He says, it's a low IQ hot take. He says, Mamdani's not a jihadist. Sure, he hates Jews and supports a global movement to kill them because he's okay with the globalize the intifada chants. But he's also...
CNN, Cuomo will not drop out tomorrow by the deadline and pull out of the general election. He's still deciding on keeping going his own line, but he sees a path through a wider general electorate and more scrutiny on Mamdani. Told you. I don't know what breezy politics is, by the way. My brother said that he started seeing this breezy politics stuff on his timeline a lot on his YouTube, and he's got like a very normie YouTube algorithm. So I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on there, but he said he started seeing a lot of this breezy politics shit on his timeline.
New York City debates, the mayoral
I heard.
debates.
I got involved, and I'm supporting Mr. Mamdani.
A lot of people are. Well, especially after that debate.
Right.
It seems like everybody else was essentially saying, I've been to Israel more than you've been to Israel. I'm going to go to Israel before you do.
Right. They think they're campaigning to be foreign, minister for Israel or something.
Where would you go first?
The Holy Land.
Go to Israel.
Fourth trip to Israel, first trip to Israel.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City.
That's so awesome. I love Breezy is 100% anti-Semitic. At least the comment section in the videos are explicitly Hasanabi. I've seen it on Instagram as well. Yeah, I don't know who this guy is. I just saw, the only time I heard about it is from my brother. But I will say this. I love seeing the normie perspective and what their takeaway is from this like long interview, like this long debate. It was like 2 hours long, right? And it's so funny that is what remained. That is what they were, that was their primary takeaway, because that's what the media wanted to be the primary takeaway. I think this was a severe miscalculation. I'll be honest. I think it was a severe miscalculation. They just kept hitting over and over again this like Am Israel high line, and they thought that they could attack Zohran with that at a time when, especially in the Democratic Party, there is an immense amount of resentment towards Israel and the outsized role it plays in American foreign policy. So perhaps not a good line of attack that only ended up promoting the politician that stood against that kind of thing and said, no, that. I'm just going to stay in New York. I'm running for mayor of New York. That's what it felt like to me. And they got lost in the anti-Israel, anti-Semitism angle of attack so hard that they didn't even hit Zohran on like he's inexperienced. He wants to defund the police. He's like pro-gay or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I think Zohran still would have won in spite of a more aggressive campaign that. Like a more aggressive messaging campaign against Zohran that featured some of the other things, right? If they were to like actually hit Zohran on like how young he is or how he said he wants to defund the police or all this other, like I do think that would have made a bigger dent, but I think he would have still been able to overcome. He would have been able to withstand that pressure. I think he would have been able to overcome all of that pressure. But because they were so invested in the Israel stuff, which is an incredibly unpopular position amongst the regular public, and an even more unpopular position amongst the Democratic voter base, that is an incredibly popular position in the media and in our politics, that dichotomy, that difference in opinion caused them to miscalculate. I'm skipping them reading dumbass racist ass tweets. I'm sorry.